Man, I thought yesterday's video on the Calgary Flames firing Darryl Sutter would be the last time we would talk about this guy and the entire situation with the Flames in 22-23. But nah, just the very next day we're talking once again about this because we had ourselves an interview done with Jonathan Huberdeau. This was on BPM Sports Radio. It's Bob Hartley who goes out there with the show, and Martin LeMay is also on the program as well. This is kind of the clip that's going viral here. But before we dive into what exactly was said, we gotta give a little bit of a recap, and I say a little bit of a recap, not just a recap, because we literally made a video about this yesterday. So go ahead and watch that if you want the full scoop. But Darryl Sutter, coach of the Flames, last year he was the Jack Adams winner for the best coach in the NHL. This season the team was bad. Tkachuk and Gaudreau, they left. You have Huberdeau and Kadri brought in. Both of these players at separate parts throughout the year went out there and expressed their displeasure with the way the team was being run and the systems in place. So, when you saw the Flames fail to make the playoffs, you saw Jonathan Huberdeau go through what I believe was the biggest drop-off in points from one season to another in NHL history, or maybe it was like top 5 or something like that. He had 115 points last year. This season he had 60 fewer, which is crazy. Like, that's an entire player's worth of production there, just removed from Huberdeau and his points. But he wasn't the only one that had a lot of struggles. Kadri went through the same thing, and not only was that the case, you had yourselves a whole bunch of Darryl Sutter moments throughout the year that were not pleasant to watch, where he would fail to adjust, he would be demeaning of his younger players on the team and the media, and it was bad. Sutter got fired yesterday. And now you have yourselves an interview from Jonathan Huberdeau on BPM Sports. We already talked about this, so the link is going to be in the description if you want to go ahead and watch the clip and listen to it yourself. Although I will give a disclaimer. You're seeing it on the screen right now, this interview, this video, it's in French. So if you don't understand French, then probably skip out on this one for now. But the reason we're making this video is because Julian McKenzie, the Flames writer on The Athletic, tweeted out the quotes from this interview in English, and this is kind of where everything goes viral. This has 500,000 views on Twitter, by the way, so a lot of people were kind of eyeing this down and seeing what was going on. Former Flames head coach Bob Hartley interviewed Jonathan Huberdeau on BPM Sports Radio. They asked Huberdeau about Darryl Sutter and Jakob Pelletier's debut, as well as what the players thought. Now, before we proceed, if you remember, Jakob Pelletier, top prospect by the Flames a few years ago, he was a guy in the AHL doing extraordinarily well as a very young player. He got called up to the Calgary Flames this season, he played, and Darryl Sutter went out there and pretty much, I don't want to say demeaned, okay, kind of demeaned, yeah, he belittled Pelletier and his debut in the media. They asked him what they thought about Pelletier, and Darryl Sutter just ended up reading the stat sheet, literally just saying what it was that he did, 0 shots, whatever. He didn't say really anything of substance, congratulating the guy or just being aware that this is a younger player that made his debut. He's just kind of cold about it. And a lot of people, myself included, felt that was the wrong move. Hey, we made a video about that if you want to go ahead and check that out from earlier on in the season, but Darryl Sutter kind of ruffled some feathers with the way that he talked about Pelletier in the media. Huberdeau says this: "Why say that to the media and go see the kid afterwards and tell him he played well? We were all disappointed in Darryl Sutter, especially for a young kid who comes in and doesn't need that as a young player. He just wants to play well for himself and the team. In the media, we were all pretty surprised. We were just saying, that's Darryl." And yeah, okay, the guy gets fired yesterday, and all of a sudden, the de facto best player on the team is calling him out like this on French radio. Okay, sign me up, baby. It's kind of good, honestly, in my opinion, seeing that the rest of the Flames locker room also felt the same way about Pelletier as we did, about how it was inappropriate to say what Sutter did about Pelletier and belittle the guy who's made his entire life's journey to make it to the NHL, only to say, oh, X shots, Y goals, Z whatever, time on ice, that. You want me to tell you more? Like, that was so uncalled for. I know Sutter has a hard-nosed style, he doesn't like to show much of that emotion or whatever, the gushy stuff, he's so stoic in the face of the media, but boy, that was a wrong look. And all the players in the Flames locker room, good to see that they sort of felt the same way. There are some other quotes, though, from Huberdeau talking about the ins and outs of being a part of a Sutter system. Here is what he said about the Sutter firing: "It really didn't click between me and Darryl last year. There were a lot of factors. There was a big difference in points between my last 2 years, and the style of play he wanted to play, it didn't fit my style of game. Having a new coach is going to help my game and my confidence too. So there you go, folks. That's it. That's all she wrote. We don't need to interview anybody else about Darryl Sutter anymore. We don't need to hear anything about the situation further from that because Huberdeau goes out there and lays it flat on the line. It didn't work. The system he wanted, the way that I play, don't align. And the dagger is really just the ending point here. I will improve and feel more confident with a new coach. Like, dude, they're saying it right here. Huberdeau did not hold back in French. Maybe this is because French media and French commentary, sports analysis, whatever, it's in its own little bubble. Like, we always talk about how there's the mainstream Toronto Sports Network, and everybody here that's outside of Quebec that gets the English coverage just kind of gets fed Toronto news and Oilers news and other stuff about random league things. But when it comes to the French-speaking hockey media sphere, dude, it's like a completely new world, and we're seeing articles come out talking about Huberdeau and how he didn't hold back. We're talking more so about the Flames and where they go next. If there is the prevalence of that rumor that the AHL guy, Mitch Love, is going to be the next coach, then okay, pretty nice name to see there. You're going to see some younger guys get some opportunities if that's going to be the case, but now I think at this point, all I'm looking forward to is seeing whether or not Nazem Kadri gets himself an interview soon and talks his own talk about how everything went down. Obviously, in Quebec, it's a bit different because there always are sports talk radio shows, and anybody who speaks French could be asked on, and you'll normally see good content coming out of that. But because Nazem Kadri isn't really the francophone type guy, you know, it's probably not going to happen on this show anytime soon. But of course, link is in the description if you want to go ahead and listen to the audio clip. Again, it is in French, so you kind of need to know the language. But aside from that, if you're a Calgary Flames fan, let me know in the comments all your opinions about Huberdeau and what he had to say about this situation. It's kind of wild, isn't it? And for me, I feel sort of a sense of relief hearing it from one of the guys in the room himself that, yeah, all the stuff that the fans are saying, y'all are right. It's all correct, and these are the same things that we feel too. So if you're a Calgary Flames fan, do you get any sort of solace out of this situation, hearing what Huberdeau had to say? Does it give you more hope for how next season is going to go down? Do you think Huberdeau can get back to the 115-point score that he had been last year? You lost out on Johnny Gaudreau, and then you lost out on Huberdeau too because that guy went from 115 to 60. That's almost like a full player's worth of loss right there. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire Sutter-Huberdeau thing. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.